When his fiancée left him for his biggest rival, Millionaire CEO Calder Ross couldn't face going home. Night after night, he slept in his corner office, drowning in heartbreak, until she walked in.
You don't have to clean in here. I live here now.
Zaria Lane was just the night maid, invisible to the powerful elite. But something about this broken man made her stop.
Then maybe someone should.
It started with simple kindness in the darkness. But when a cleaning lady and a CEO fall for each other, two worlds collide.
I don't know what's happening here, Zaria, between us.
It has to be nothing. You're the CEO. I'm the cleaning lady. This isn't some fairy tale.
Can love survive when everything is against them? When she gets the career opportunity of a lifetime, will she choose independence or the man who sees her heart? And will he risk everything to prove their love is worth fighting for? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you're watching from today. The night shift at Pinnacle Tower in downtown Los Angeles was Zaria Lane's refuge from the world. At 26, she preferred the quiet emptiness of office buildings after hours to the chaos of daytime cleaning crews. Tonight was no different as she pushed her cleaning cart out of the service elevator onto the 57th floor. Another night, another dollar, she whispered to herself, plugging her earbuds in. The gospel music that filled her ears was like armoire, keeping the world at bay while she did her job. Zaria glanced at her watch. 1:15 a.m. The floor should be empty. It always was. The 57th floor housed the headquarters of Secure Shield, one of the most successful data security companies in the country. Its founder and CEO, Calder Ross, was all over the business magazines. Not that Zaria cared much about the wealthy people whose trash she emptied every night. She started her routine in the reception area, wiping down the sleek glass desk and vacuuming the plush carpet. As she worked her way toward the executive offices, she noticed something unusual. A light was on in the corner office, Calder Ross's office. "That's strange," she muttered, removing one earbud. The cleaning supervisor had told them all about the strict energy policy. Lights off meant money saved. As she approached the glass-walled office, Zaria froze. A man was inside, sitting on the leather couch, his head in his hands. She recognized him immediately from the company photos displayed in the lobby, Calder Ross himself. Zaria hesitated. She wasn't supposed to clean when executives were present. That was the rule. But something about the way he sat there, shoulders slumped, hair disheveled, made her pause. He looked nothing like the confident man from the magazine covers. She was about to turn away when he looked up and saw her. "You don't have to lean in here," he said flatly. His voice was deeper than she expected. "I live here now." Zaria stood still, taking in the scene. The overflowing trash can, the suit jacket thrown carelessly over a chair, the takeout containers piled on the coffee table, and Calder Ross, barefoot with red-rimmed eyes, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "Then maybe someone should," she replied softly. His eyebrows lifted slightly, as if he wasn't used to people talking back to him. "Do what you want," he said, turning his attention back to the laptop balanced on his knees. Zaria hesitated only a moment before entering the office. She moved quietly, starting with the trash can. As she worked, she could feel his eyes following her occasionally, but she kept her focus on her task. "You're new," he said after several minutes of silence. "I've been cleaning this floor for 3 months," Zaria replied, without looking up from weeping the conference table. "Oh," a pause. "I don't usually work this late." "I know," she said. "Your office is usually the cleanest one on the floor." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Was that a compliment or an observation? "Just a fact," Zaria said, moving to dust the bookshelves. Calder watched her for a moment longer. "You have a name?" "Zaria. Zaria Lane." "Calder Ross. I know who you are, Mr. Ross." "Right. Of course." The silence returned as Zaria continued cleaning. As she wiped down his desk, careful not to disturb the papers scattered across it, she noticed a tabloid magazine half hidden under a folder. The headline screamed, "Tech Titan dumped at the altar." Below it was a photo of Calder with a stunning blonde woman in evening wear, their faces captured mid-laugh at some gala. Zaria quickly moved her cloth over it, but not before Calder noticed. "Go ahead," he said bitterly. Everyone else here has seen it. Might as well complete the humiliation. Zaria straightened up. It's not my business, Mr. Ross. No? Aren't you curious? The great Calder Ross left by his fiancée for his business rival. It's quite the story. His voice had an edge that made Zaria uncomfortable. I'm just here to clean, she said quietly. Right. He shut his laptop with more force than necessary. Well, don't let me stop you. Zaria finished her work in silence, aware of the tension in the room. As she prepared to leave, she paused at the door. You should go home, Mr. Ross. Get some real sleep. He looked up at her, his expression unreadable. Thanks for the advice. Good night, she said, and pulled the door closed behind her. The next night, Zaria half expected the 57th floor to be back to normal, empty and silent. But as she stepped off the elevator, she saw the same light glowing from Calder's office. She did her essay. All rounds first, cleaning the other offices and common areas before approaching the corner office. When she got there, Calder was standing at the window, looking out at the city lights. You can come in, he said without turning around. I won't bite. Zaria entered cautiously, cart in tow. Still living here, Mr. Ross? Apparently. He turned to face her. He looked marginally better than the night before. He'd changed his shirt, at least, though his eyes still had dark circles beneath them. As Zaria began cleaning, she noticed something different on the desk, a fresh cup of coffee that hadn't been there before. Next to it was a small handwritten note. For the night shift. She glanced at Calder, who was now sitting at his desk, pretending to focus on his computer screen. Thank you, she said, picking up the cup. But I don't drink coffee after midnight. Keeps me up. A hint of a smile touched his lips. Isn't that the point? Staying awake during the night shift? I managed just fine, she said, but took a sip anyway. It was good, rich and not too bitter. Calder watched her for a moment. You don't seem impressed or intimidated. Should I be? Most people are, one or the other. Zaria shrugged. My mother always said rich people put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everyone else. Smart woman, your mother. She was, Zaria said softly. Calder caught the past tense. I'm sorry. It's been 3 years. She worked cleaning hotels until her knees gave out, raised me on her own. She taught you well, Calder said. About the pants, I mean. This drew a small smile from Zaria. She taught me a lot of things. Do your work. Guard your heart. Be kind, but not soft. Sounds like good advice. Calder leaned back in his chair. My father's advice was simpler. Win at all costs. Did you? Win, I mean. Calder gestured around the empty office. What do you think? Zaria didn't answer, continuing to clean in comfortable silence. When she finished, she found Calder watching her again. Same time tomorrow night? He asked, and it sounded almost like a genuine question rather than a statement. I'll be here, she replied. It's my job. For the next week, a routine developed. Zaria would arrive on the 57th floor to find Calder in his office. Sometimes he was W-walking furiously, other times just staring out the window. She would clean while he pretended not to watch her. Sometimes they talked, brief exchanges about nothing important. Sometimes they worked in companionable silence. Each night there was something new waiting for her. A different kind of tea, after she mentioned not liking coffee. A fresh towel by the sink in the executive bathroom. A small box of chocolate-covered strawberries with a note that said, Midnight snack? On Friday night, Zaria arrived to find Calder asleep on the leather couch, his tall frame awkwardly curled to fit the limited space. His laptop was still open on the coffee table, spreadsheets filling the screen. She cleaned as quietly as possible, but as she was emptying his trash can, he stirred. What time is it? He asked groggily. Almost 2, she answered. He sat up, rubbing his face. Sorry, I meant to be awake when you got here. Why? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Calder looked slightly embarrassed. I don't know. It's nice having someone to talk to who isn't trying to get something from me. I get a paycheck, Zaria pointed out. That's different. You'd get that whether I was here or not. Zaria nodded, moving to the bookshelves. As she ran her cloth over the spines of leather-bound books, she noticed a small framed photo tucked between volumes. It showed a much younger Calder with an older man who had the same sharp jawline and intense eyes. "My father," Calder said, noticing her gaze. "Taken the day I graduated from MIT. "You look happy," Zaria observed. "I was. He was actually proud of me that day. Didn't happen often." "Is he still alive?" "Yes, living in Switzerland with wife number 4. We talk quarterly, mainly about stock prices." Zaria moved on to another shelf, letting the conversation lapse. After a few minutes, Calder spoke again. "What about you? Any family besides your mother?" "No, it was just us. Now it's just me." "That must be lonely." Zaria shrugged. "I keep busy. 2 jobs, online classes when I can afford them." "What are you studying?" "Graphic design. I've always liked art, but my mother insisted on something practical." "Smart woman," Calder said again. "She was," Zaria agreed, a fond smile crossing her face. "What about your mother?" Calder's expression darkened slightly. "She died when I was 8. Cancer." "I'm sorry. It was a long time ago." He stood up and stretched. "My father threw himself into building his business empire afterward, left me with a series of nannies and boarding schools." "Is that why you're sleeping here instead of going home?" Zaria asked boldly. "You never learned how to be alone in an empty house." Calder looked startled by her insight. "That's perceptive." "I watch people," Zaria said simply. "It's easy to be invisible when you're cleaning. You see things." "What else do you see?" he asked, stepping closer. Zaria met his gaze. A man running from something more than just an empty house. Their eyes held for a long moment before Calder looked away. "It's late. You should finish up and get home." Zaria nodded, sensing the wall going back up between them. "Good night, Mr. Ross." "Calder," he corrected. "Please call me Calder." "Good night, Calder," she said softly before leaving. By the 3rd week, something had shifted. Calder no longer pretended to work while Zaria cleaned. Instead, he would sit on the couch or lean against his desk, talking with her as she moved around the office. He told her about growing up wealthy but lonely, about building his company from the ground up. Despite his father's belief he would fail, about his vision for Technology that protected people's privacy instead of exploiting it. In turn, Zaria shared stories about her mother, about growing up in a small apartment in East LA, about her dreams of one day having her own graphic design business. "Why don't you?" Calder asked one night. "Start your own business, I mean." "Money," Zaria said simply. "Starting a business takes capital I don't have." "You could get investors," Zaria laughed. "Right, because investors are lining up to fund businesses started by cleaning ladies with no college degree." "You'd be surprised," Calder said. "Your work is good. I looked up your online portfolio." Zaria stopped, wiping the window. "You what?" "I Googled you," he admitted. "Your designs are impressive, the logo work especially." "You had no right," she said, her voice cool. "It's a public website, Zaria." "That's not the point." She put down her cloth. "I'm not some project for you to fix, Calder." "I never said you were." "You didn't have to." She picked up her supplies and headed for the door. "I should finish the rest of the floor." "Zaria, wait." Calder moved quickly, blocking her path. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have looked without asking." She looked up at him, suddenly aware of how close they were standing. "No, you shouldn't have." "I was curious about you," he said quietly. "Is that so wrong?" "It crosses a line," she replied, but her voice had lost its edge. "I seem to be doing that a lot lately." His eyes searched hers. "I don't know what's happening here, Zaria. Between us." "Nothing's happening," she said quickly. "I clean. You work. Sometimes we talk." "Is that all it is?" Zaria stepped back, putting distance between them. "It has to be. You're the CEO. I'm the cleaning lady. This isn't some fairy tale." "Maybe not," Calder conceded. "But it's something." "It's nothing," Zaria insisted, more to herself than to him. "Good night, Mr. Ross." She left quickly, the Mr. Ross landing between them like a barrier. The next night, Zaria almost called in sick. Almost. But she needed the money and running away had never been her style. So at 1 a.m., she stepped off the elevator onto the 57th floor, with her chin held high. Calder's office was dark. Relief and disappointment warred within her as she began her usual routine, telling herself it was better this way, safer. But when she reached the executive office, she found a note taped to the door. "Don't clean the bookshelf. I like your fingerprints there." Zaria stood frozen, reading the words over and over. Such a simple statement, yet it made her heart race. She entered the office slowly, turning on the light. The room was neater than usual. The couch cushions were straightened. The trash was empty. On the desk sat a small gift bag with another R note. A peace offering, no strings attached. Inside the bag was a beautiful leather-bound sketchbook and a set of professional drawing pencils, expensive ones, the kind she'd always wanted but could never justify buying. "Oh, Calder," she whispered to the empty room. As she moved to put the gifts back in the bag, determined to return them, she noticed something else on the desk, a framed photo lying face down. Curiosity got the better of her, and she too ran it over. It was Calder with the blonde woman from the tabloid. They were on a yacht, champagne glasses in hand, her diamond ring catching the sunlight. They looked perfect together, both beautiful, wealthy, belonging to the same world. Reality crashed down on Zaria like a cold wave. What was she doing? Getting emotionally involved with a man who was clearly still hung up on his ex? A man who lived in a different universe from hers? She put the photo bay, exactly as she'd found it, left the gifts untouched on the desk and did her job, cleaning everything except the bookshelf, as instructed. When she finished, she left without looking back, the wall around her heart a little higher than before. Zaria didn't see Calder for the next 3 nights. His office remained dark, though the gifts still sat untouched on his desk. She told herself it was for the best, that whatever had been building between them was just a fantasy. On the 4th night, she arrived on the 57th floor to find a maintenance crew working on the elevators. "We're switching some of the cleaning assignments," her supervisor explained when she called. "You'll be on the 43rd floor for the rest of the week." "But I always clean 57, Zaria protested. "Not anymore. Is that a problem?" Zaria swallowed her disappointment. No problem. For the next week, she cleaned different floors, telling herself she was relieved to be away from the complication that was Calder Ross. Yet she found herself looking at the clock at 1:15 a.m. each night, wondering if he was back in his office, if he'd noticed she was gone. On Friday, as she was leaving the building after her shift, the night security guard called her over. "Miss Lane, someone left this for you." He handed her an envelope with her name written on it in a strong, angular script she recognized immediately. She waited until she was on the bus home to open it. Inside was a simple card. "There's dust collecting again on the 57th floor. Any chance you could come clean up the mess I left behind?" She turned the card over. Taped to the back was a key. Zaria stared at it for a long moment, her mother's voice echoing in her head. "Guard your heart. Be kind, but not soft." But as the bus carried her through the sleeping city, another voice, her own, whispered back, "Sometimes being brave means taking a chance." She closed her fingers around the key, a small smile spreading across her face. Zaria stared at the key in her palm as she stood outside the Pinnacle Tower employee entrance. It was Sunday evening. She didn't work weekends. The building would be nearly empty except for security. Her heart pounded as she slid the key into the card reader. A green light flashed and the door clicked open. "What am I doing?" she peered to herself as she entered the lobby. The security guard looked up in surprise. "Miss Lane, you're not on the schedule tonight." "I left something upstairs," she lied, showing him the key card. "Mr. Ross gave me permission to retrieve it." The guard nodded, not questioning further. The name Ross opened doors in this building. The elevator ride to the 57th floor felt longer than usual. Zaria's reflection in the polished doors showed a woman she barely recognized, nervous, hopeful, scared. When the doors opened, the floor was dark except for a soft glow coming from the corner office. Taking a deep breath, she walked toward it. Calder was standing by the window, his back to the door. He turned when he heard her footsteps, and the look on his face made her heart skip. "You came," he said simply. "I was curious," Zarya replied, trying to sound casual. "Your note said there was a mess." A smile played at the corner of his mouth. "A metaphorical mess, maybe. Those are harder to clean up." "I know." He gestured to the couch. "Will you sit?" Zarya hesitated, then perched on the edge of the leather sofa. Calder sat beside her, leaving a respectful distance between them. "I owe you an apology," he began, "for a lot of things. For looking up your work without asking, for making you uncomfortable, for disappearing." "You don't owe me anything, Calder. I'm just..." If you say, "Just the cleaning lady" one more time, I might lose my mind," he interrupted. "So you're not just anything, Zarya." She looked down at her hands. "Where did you go this past week?" "Home," he said. "My actual home. I took your advice." Zarya looked up in surprise. "You did?" "It wasn't easy. That house, it's full of memories I've been avoiding. But you were right, I can't live in my office forever." "That's good," she said softly. "That's progress." "It got me thinking about other things I've been avoiding too." He met her eyes. "Like how I feel when I'm with you." Zarya felt her cheeks warm. "Calder, I know what you're going to say, that we're from different worlds, that this can't work. But here's the thing, Zarya. When I'm with you, I feel like myself. Not Calder Ross the CEO or Calder Ross the tabloid headline. Just me." "You don't even know me," she protested weakly. "I know enough." He leaned forward. "I know you're smart and kind. I know you work harder than anyone I've ever met. I know you see through people's facades like they're made of glass. And I know that for the first time in months, maybe years, I look forward to something other than work." Zarya stood up and walked to the window, needing space to think. "What happened with your fiancée?" Calder's expression darkened. "Sophia. She left me for Julian Mercer, my biggest competitor. They'd been seeing each other behind my back for months." "That must have hurt." "The betrayal more than the loss," Calder admitted. "Looking back, we were together more for appearances than love. The perfect power couple. At least that's what the press called us." "And what would they call us?" Zarya asked pointedly. "The CEO and the janitor." "I don't care what they'd call us," Calder said, standing to join her by the window. "I just know that I want to find out if this thing between us is real." "It's complicated, Calder. Life is complicated." He was standing close now, close enough that she could smell his cologne. "Give me a chance, Zarya. Just one." She looked up at him, wanting to say yes, but afraid of where it might lead. "I can't be your rebound." "You're not," he said firmly. "You're the wake-up call that made me realize what I really want." Zarya took a deep breath. "One chance, but we take it slow." The smile that broke across his face was like sunrise. "Slow it is." Slow began with coffee. Real coffee. At a small cafe 3 blocks from the tower, the next evening before Zarya's shift. Calder was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table away from the windows. He wore jeans and a simple grey sweater instead of his usual suit, and he looked younger, more relaxed. "You're trying to be incognito," Zarya observed as she sat WN. "Is it working?" "Not really." "You still have that I own the place vibe going on," he laughed. "I'll work on that." They talked for an hour, easy conversation about favorite books and movies, childhood memories, dreams for the future. When Zarya mentioned she needed to get to work, Calder looked disappointed but didn't press. "Can I see you tomorrow?" he asked as they walked out. "I have my other job tomorrow, the cafe on Wilshire." "What time?" "Calder," she warned. "That's not taking it slow." "Coffee isn't slow. What's slower than coffee?" She couldn't help but smile at his persistence. "Fine. I work from 6 to noon." "I'll see you at noon," he promised. For the next 2 weeks, they settled into a routine. Coffee before Zarya's night shifts. Lunch after her morning cafe shifts. Text messages in between. Calder no longer slept at the office, but he was always there when Zarya arrived for her clean-in-G shift, sitting on the couch with 2 cups of tea and stories about his day. They learned about each other in these quiet moments. Zarya told him about her mother's struggle to give her a good life, about her dreams of college, that were put on hold after her mother's death, about the small apartment she could barely afford even with 2 jobs. Calder shared stories of boarding school loneliness, of building his first security program at 16, of the pressure to live up to his father's legacy while forging his own path. "Why data security?" Zarya asked one night as they sat in his office. "Out of all the tech fields you could have chosen?" "Because it matters," Calder said simply. "People deserve privacy. They deserve to know their personal information is protected." "Is that why you were so upset when I found you looking up my portfolio? Because it violated my privacy?" Calder looked thoughtful. "I hadn't connected those dots, but yes, maybe. It was hypocritical of me." "It's okay," Zarya said. "I forgive you." Just like that? Just like that. He reached for her hand, entwining his fingers with hers. "You make me want to be better, Zarya. You already are," she said softly. Their first kiss happened on a rainy Tuesday, 3 weeks after the key. They were standing under the awning of the cafe where Zarya worked, watching the downpour. "I can run to G to my car," Calder offered. "It's only water," Zarya replied. "I won't melt." "Your optimism is adorable," he said, looking down at her with such warmth that Zarya felt herself blush. "What?" she asked when he continued staring. "Nothing. Just—" He reached up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. "I really want to kiss you right now." Zarya's heart hammered in her chest. That wouldn't be taking it slow. "We've been slow for 3 weeks, he murmured, leaning closer. "That's practically a lifetime in CEO years." She laughed, and then his lips were on hers, gentle and questioning. Zarya closed her eyes, letting herself sink into the moment, into him. When they broke apart, Calder's eyes were bright with something she hadn't seen before. Happiness. "Worth the wait," he whispered. Reality intruded a week later. Zarya arrived at Pinnacle Tower for her shift to find Calder in an intense phone conversation, P acing his office like a caged animal. "I don't care what it takes," he was saying as she entered. "This merger is happening. Make it work." He hung up and ran a hand through his hair in frustration before noticing Zarya. "Sorry about that," he said, his voice still tight. "Bad day?" she asked, setting down her cleaning supplies. "The worst. My board is giving me hell about a deal I'm trying to close, and Julian Mercer is trying to poach my best engineers." He sighed heavily. "Not to mention my father called to tell me I'm ruining the family name by not finalizing the Jensen acquisition." "Sounds stressful," Zarya said, unsure how to respond to problems so far outside her experience. "It's just business," Calder said, his tone dismissive. "Nothing I can't handle." But something had changed. The easy intimacy of recent weeks felt strained. Calder was distracted, checking his phone constantly, answering emails, while Zarya cleaned. "Maybe I should go," she suggested after nearly an hour of near silence. "You seem busy." "No, stay," Calder said quickly. "I'm sorry. It's just been a day from hell." "I understand." "Do you?" The words came out sharper than he intended, and he immediately looked contrite. "That was unfair, I'm sorry." "It's fine," Zarya said, though it wasn't. "We live in different worlds, Calder. I can't pretend to understand the pressure you're under." "That's not—" He was interrupted by his phone ringing again. He glanced at it and swore under his breath. "I have to take this, it's Tokyo." Zarya nodded and continued cleaning while he took the call, speaking in clipped, professional tones, so different from the warm voice she'd grown used to. When he hung up, he looked exhausted. "I need to go to New York tomorrow, emergency board meeting." "For how long?" "A few days, maybe a week." He came to her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I'll miss you." "You'll be too busy to miss me," Zarya said lightly, trying to hide her disappointment. "Never too busy for you." He kissed her forehead. "Come to my place when I get back. I'll cook dinner." "You cook?" "I'm a man of many talents," he said, with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Calder was gone for 10 days. He called when he could, but the conversations were brief, often interrupted by meetings or other calls. Zarya tried not to feel the distance growing between them, but it was hard to ignore. When he finally returned, he picked her up after her cafe shift in his sleek black Mercedes, looking tired but happy to see her. "I missed you," he said, kissing her before she could even get settled in the passenger seat. "I missed you too," she admitted. "How was work?" "The usual. Customers who can't function without caffeine. You?" "Productive. The Beau RD finally approved the merger." He pulled into traffic, expertly navigating the busy streets. "I have a surprise for you." "What kind of surprise?" "You'll see." 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a modern glass and steel building overlooking the ocean in Santa Monica. Calder led her inside to a private elevator that required a key card. "Where are we going?" Zarya asked, suddenly nervous. "My place," Calder replied. "I promised you dinner, remember?" The elevator opened directly into a stunning penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing a panoramic view of the Pacific. The space was minimalist and masculine, all clean lines, neutral colors, and expensive furnishings. "This is where you live?" Zarya asked, feeling immediately out of place in her cafe uniform. "Home, sweet home," Calder said, watching her reaction. "What do you think?" "It's big." He laughed. "That's one word for it. Come on, I'll give you the tour." The apartment was even larger than it first appeared. 3 bedrooms, a state-of-the-art kitchen, a home office, a gym, and a massive terrace with an infinity pool. "You live here alone?" Zarya asked as they completed the tour. "Just me," Calder confirmed. "Well, and Mrs. Rodriguez, who comes to clean 3 times a week." "Of course," Zarya said, a hint of something sharp in her voice. Calder caught it. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." She walked to the window, looking out at the view. "It's a beautiful place. But," she turned to face him, "this is your world, Calder, all of this." She gestured around the luxurious space. "It's so far from mine." "It's just stuff," he said, coming to stand beside her. "Things don't matter. People do." "Says the man with the multi-million-dollar penthouse," Zarya replied with a sad smile. "Hey." He took her hands in his. "Don't do that. Don't put up walls between us." "I'm not. The walls are already there. We're just pretending they aren't." "Zarya, what happens when the novelty wears off?" she asked quietly. "When you get tired of slumming it with the cleaning lady?" Hurt flashed across his face. "Is that what you think this is?" "I don't know what this is," she admitted. "I just know it scares me." Calder pulled her into his arms. "It scares me too, but not for the reasons you think. I'm scar-red because for the first time in my life, I care more about someone else's happiness than my own success." Zarya leaned into him, wanting to believe it could be that simple. "I should be helping you cook dinner, not having an existential crisis in your living room." He laughed, the tension breaking. "There's not much to help with. I ordered from Giorgio's. It should be here any minute." "You said you would cook." "I said I have many talents. I never specified that cooking was one of them." The evening improved from there. They ate Italian food on the terrace, watching the sunset over the ocean. Calder opened a bottle of wine that probably cost more than Zarya's weekly salary, but she didn't comment on it. After dinner, they moved to the couch, where Calder pulled her close against his chest. "Stay tonight?" he murmured into her hair. Zarya tensed. "Calder, just asleep," he clarified quickly. "I'm not pushing for more, I sleep better when you're near, even if it's just across the room." The vulnerability in his voice melted her resistance. "Okay." Later, lying in his enormous bed wearing one of his t-shirts, Zarya watched Calder sleeping beside her. In sleep, the powerful CEO disappeared, leaving just the man, handsome, troubled, searching for something she wasn't sure she could give him. She slipped out of bed and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Their worlds were colliding, but could they truly merge? Or would they eventually destroy each other, like matter and antimatter? Morning found her still wrestling with these questions. She woke to find Calder's side of the bed empty, but she could smell coffee brewing. Following the scent, she found him in the kitchen making breakfast. "You cook eggs but not dinner?" she teased, leaning against the doorframe. He looked up with a smile that made her heart flutter. "Eggs are my specialty. Coffee's ready if you want some." They ate breakfast together on the terrace, talking about nothing important, avoiding the heavier topics from the night before. When Zarya mentioned needing to get home to change before her cafe shift, Calder offered to drive her. "I can take the bus," she said. "It's not a problem." "I know you can," he replied, "but I want to drive you." The ride to her apartment was quiet. Zarya could feel Calder taking in the neighborhood as they got closer. The run-down buildings, the graffiti-covered walls, the general sense of neglect. When they pulled up in front of her building, his expression was carefully neutral. "This is me," she said unnecessarily. "Can I come up?" Zarya hesitated, imagining how her tiny studio would look through his eyes. "It's nothing special. Neither was my office at 2 a.m., but you still came in." She couldn't argue with that logic. "Okay, but don't say I didn't warn you." Her apartment was on the 3rd floor of a building that had seen better days. The elevator was perpetually out of order, so they took the stairs. Zarya unlocked 3 separate locks before opening her door. The studio was small but neat. A futon that doubled as her bed, a small kitchen area, a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. Her few possessions were organized with CA. She books lined up on a makeshift shelf, a small desk with her computer and drawing supplies, a couple of plants on the windowsill. "It's not much," she said, watching Calder take it all in. "But it's mine." "It's perfect," he said, and something in his voice made her believe he meant it. He picked up a framed photo from her desk, Zarya as a child with a woman who had the same warm brown eyes. "Your mother?" "Yes. That was at Venice Beach, one of the few days she had off from the hotel." Calder studied the photo. "You have her smile. She always said it was our secret weapon. Even on the hardest days, Zarya, your smile can change someone's whole world." "Smart woman," Calder said softly, setting the photo down. He turned to face her. "I should let you get ready for work." "Probably," she agreed, but neither of them moved. "Can I see you tonight?" he asked. "I have class after my shift, the graphic design hours I told you about." "Tomorrow, then?" Zarya smiled. "Tomorrow." He kissed her goodbye at the door, a kiss that lingered with promise. After he left, Zarya leaned against the closed door, trying to make sense of the whirlwind her life had become. A simple cleaning job had somehow led to this, falling for a man who lived in a different universe, a man who could buy and sell her entire building without blinking, a man who looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. It was completely insane. And yet, as she got ready for work, Zarya couldn't help but wonder if maybe, just maybe, her mother had been right about the power of a smile to change someone's world, because Calder-Ross's world was definitely changing, and so was hers. Over the next month, Zarya and Calder fell into a routine that somehow bridged their different worlds. Nights often found them at her small apartment, eating takeout and watching movies on her laptop. Weekends they might spend at his penthouse, enjoying the view and the luxury Calder took for granted, but Zarya was still getting used to. They were happy, despite the occasional reminder of how different their lives were, like when Calder casually suggested flying to San Francisco for dinner, as if a private jet was just another form of transportation, or Zarya had to explain why she couldn't afford to take a day off work when she wasn't feeling well. "I don't understand why you won't let me help," Calder said one evening as they sat on her futon, the remains of Chinese food spread out on the coffee table. "I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. "That's exactly why," Zarya replied, picking at her lorgnon. "It's your money, not mine. What difference does it make? I want to share what I have with you." "It makes all the difference." She set her food down, turning to face him. "My mother cleaned hotel rooms for 20 years. She scrubbed toilets and changed sheets and worked overtime to make sure I had everything I needed. She taught me the value of earning my own way." "I respect that," Calder said. "But there's a difference between independence and unnecessary struggle." "To you, maybe." Zarya stood up, needing space. "You've never had to worry about money a day in your life." "That's not fair," Calder protested. "I built my company from nothing." "With a trust fund as backup and an Ivy League education your father paid for," Zarya pointed out. "That's not nothing, Calder." He fell silent, knowing she was right. After a moment, he joined her by the window where she stood looking out at the street below. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I just hate seeing you work so hard when I could make things easier for you." I know. She leaned into him as he wrapped his arms around her from behind. But I need to do this my way, can you understand that? I'm trying, he promised, resting his chin on top of her head. I just love you so much it hurts sometimes. Zarya froze in his embrace. It was the first time either of them had used that word. You love me? She asked, turning in his arms to look at him. Calder's eyes were serious, vulnerable. I do. I love you, Zarya Lane. More than I thought possible. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Zarya searched his face, looking for any sign of doubt or insincerity. She found none. You don't have to say it back, Calder added quickly. I just wanted you to know. I love you too, she whispered, the truth of it washing over her like a wave. I think I have for a while now. The smile that broke across his face was like sunshine after rain. He lifted her off her feet, spinning her around in the small space until they were both laughing. Say it again, he demanded when he set her down. I love you, Calder Ross, she obliged, grinning up at him, even when you're being impossible. Especially then, he said, and kissed her with such tenderness that tears pricked at her eyes. Later, tangled in her sheets with the city lights glowing through her blinds, Zarya watched Calder sleeping and wondered if love really could conquer all, even the vast divide between their worlds. I want you to meet someone, Calder said a week later as they were having coffee at their favorite cafe. Who? Zarya asked, stirring her latte absently. My best friend, Elliot. He's been in Europe for the past few months, but he's back in town. Calder hesitated. He's having a party tomorrow night at his beach house. I'd like you to come with me. Zarya felt a flutter of anxiety. A party with your friends? Just Elliot and some people from our Stanford days. Nothing formal. Calder, she said carefully. These are people from your world. What will they think when you show up with... She gestured to herself. With the most beautiful, intelligent woman in Los Angeles, he finished. They'll be insanely jealous. Be serious. I am being serious. He reached across the table to take her hand. Elliot is like a brother to me. He's been hearing about you for weeks. He wants to meet the woman who got me to finally leave my office and rejoin the land of the living. Put that way, how could she refuse? Okay, she agreed reluctantly, but I have nothing to wear to a beach house party with Stanford graduates. We'll go shopping, Calder suggested. No, Zarya said firmly. I told you, I'm not letting you buy me things. Fine, he conceded. No shopping. Wear whatever makes you comfortable. Elliot's parties are usually pretty casual anyway. But as the day of the party approached, Zarya grew increasingly nervous. She ended up spending nearly a full day's wages on a simple blue sundress that made her dark skin glow and complemented her curves without being too revealing. It was more than she'd spent on clothing in months, but she wanted to look her best meeting Calder's friends. When Calder picked her up, his appreciative whistle made her blush. You look incredible, he said, kissing her cheek. You don't look so bad yourself, she replied. He was wearing khaki shorts and a light blue button-down with the sleeves rolled up, casual but still somehow radiating wealth and privilege. The drive to Malibu was quiet, Zarya too nervous to make much conversation. Calder kept glancing at her, concern in his eyes. They're going to love you, he assured her as they pulled up to an impressive modern house perched on the cliffs overlooking the ocean. Just be yourself. That's what I'm afraid of, Zarya muttered. The party was already in full swing when they arrived. Music drifted from hidden speakers, and well-dressed people with expensive haircuts mingled on the expansive deck. Calder kept a reassuring hand on the small of Zarya's back as they made their way through the crowd. Calder Ross, as I live and breathe. A tall man with sandy hair and a perpetual smile broke away from a group and headed toward them. The prodigal CEO returns to society. Elliot? Calder greeted him with a one-armed hug. Good to see you too, drama queen. Elliot's attention immediately shifted to Zarya. And you must be the famous Zarya. I was starting to think he'd made you up. All too real, I'm afraid, Zarya replied with a small smile. Oh, I like her already, Elliot said to Calder before turning back to Zarya. He's told me absolutely nothing about you. which means you must be special. He only gets secretive about things that matter. Ignore him, Calder advised. I've been trying to for 20 years. Elliot laughed and looped his arm through Zaria's. Come on, let me introduce you to everyone while this antisocial hermit gets us drinks. Before she could protest, Elliot was whisking her away through the party, introducing her to a blur of names and faces. Everyone was polite, if a bit curious about her connection to Calder. Zaria found herself repeating her occupation and educational background more times than was comfortable. So you're a maid? Asked a woman named Vanessa, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. How fascinating. And where did you go to college? I haven't finished my degree yet, Zaria admitted. I'm taking classes when I can afford them. Oh, the word dripped with judgment. Well, that's admirable. Zaria was saved from further interrogation by Calder's return with their drinks. He must have sensed her discomfort, because he immediately steered her away toward the deck. You okay? He asked quietly. Fine, she lied. Your friends are interesting. They can be judgmental, he acknowledged. Old money, old attitudes. Elliot's the exception. I noticed. They found a quiet spot at the edge of the deck, looking out at the ocean. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. It's beautiful here, Zaria said, grateful for the momentary escape. Elliot's family has owned this place for generations, Calder explained. We spent every summer here as kids, getting into trouble and driving his parents crazy. Must have been nice, Zaria said, trying to keep the envy from her voice. Her own childhood summers had been spent in the back room of the hotel where her mother worked, doing homework and waiting for her shift to end. It was, Calder admitted. I was lucky. They were interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. Zaria turned to see a stunning blonde woman making her entrance, drawing all eyes to her. She was model thin, wearing a white dress that probably cost more than Zaria's monthly rent, her hair styled in perfect waves. Oh no, Calder muttered beside her. What? Who is that? But Zaria already knew. She'd seen the woman's face in the tabloid photo on Calder's desk. In the picture, Calder kept hidden in his drawer. Sophia, Calder confirmed, his voice tight. My ex. What is she doing here? I have no idea. Elliot wouldn't have invited her. Calder's jaw was clenched, his entire body tense. Across the room, Sophia spotted them. A slow, predatory smile spread across her perfect face as she began making her way toward them. Calder, darling, she called, her voice carrying over the music. What a lovely surprise. Calder's hand found Zaria's, squeezing it tightly. Sophia, he greeted her coolly when she reached them. I didn't expect to see you here. Elliot and I have always been close, Sophia replied, her eyes sliding dismissively over Zaria before returning to Calder. You're looking well. Finally sleeping in a real bed instead of that awful couch in your office. The intimate knowledge of Calder's habits made Zaria's stomach twist. Had Sophia visited him during those late nights at the office? Before Zaria started cleaning his floor. I am, thank you, Calder replied stiffly. Sophia, this is Zaria Lane. Zaria, Sophia Harrington. His cleaning lady, Sophia said with a smirk. Yes, I've heard all about your unusual relationship. The whole city is talking about it. Zaria felt as if she'd been slapped. The whole city? People were talking about them? Funny, I haven't heard a thing about you, she replied, surprising herself with her boldness. I guess old news gets forgotten quickly. Sophia's eyes narrowed. Careful, dear, you're out of your depth here. That's enough, Sophia, Calder cut in, his voice hard. If you'll excuse us. He led Zaria away, his hand protectively at her back. When they were out of earshot, he turned to her with concern. I'm so sorry about that. I had no idea she would be here. It's fine, Zaria said, though it wasn't. Is it true? Are people talking about us? Calder hesitated. There might have been some mention in the gossip columns. It's nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about? Zaria repeated incredulously. Calder, I'm being gossiped about in magazines. It's just because of who I am, he explained. Anything I do gets attention. It doesn't mean anything. It means something to me, Zaria insisted. I didn't sign up to be tabloid fodder. I know, Calder said, running a hand through his hair in frustration. I'm sorry. This is exactly what I was trying to protect you from. By not telling me? By hoping it would blow over before you had to deal with it. Zarya took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. I need some air. We're already outside, Calder pointed out gently. Different air. Air that doesn't smell like money and judgment. She pulled away from him. I'll be back in a few minutes. I just need to clear my head. She made her way down the steps to the beach, kicking off her shoes to feel the sand between her toes. The sun had set, leaving the sky a deep purple, fading to black. Zarya walked to the water's edge, letting the cold waves wash over her feet. What was she doing here? Playing Cinderella at the ball, pretending she belonged in Calder's world. Sophia's appearance had been a stark reminder of reality. Calder's ex was exactly the kind of woman people expected him to be with. Beautiful, sophisticated, from the same privileged background. She's lying, you know. Zarya turned to find Elliot standing behind her, 2 glasses of champagne in his hands. He offered one to her. About what? Zarya asked Ed, accepting the drink. About me inviting her. Elliot sipped his champagne, looking out at the dark ocean. She heard Calder would be here and crashed the party. She's been trying to get him back ever since her thing with Julian Mercer fell apart. Why are you telling me this? Because I've known Calder since we were kids sharing comic books in boarding school, Elliot said simply, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Eve and Sophia? Especially Sophia. Elliot chuckled. Theirs was a relationship of convenience, 2 ambitious people from the right families, making the right connections. There was never any real feeling there. Then why does he still keep her picture? The question slipped out before Zarya could stop it. Elliot raised an eyebrow. Does he? In his desk drawer at the office. I found it when I was cleaning. Ah. Elliot nodded in understanding. Probably the E1 from the charity gala last year, the night his father finally admitted Calder had surpassed him. Zarya shrugged. I don't know. They were on a yacht. That would be the one. Elliot smiled wryly. That picture isn't about Sophia, Zarya. It's about the only time Howard Ross ever told his son he was proud of him. Sophia just happened to be there. Oh. Zarya felt a weight lift from her shoulders. I didn't know. There's a lot you probably don't know. How about Calder? Elliot said. He doesn't let people in easily. The fact that he's let you in at all is significant. Even though I'm just the cleaning lady? Zarya couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. You're clearly much more than that, Elliot replied. And for what it's worth, I think you're exactly what he needs. Someone real in a world full of fakery. Thank you, Zarya said, genuinely touched. That means a lot. Don't tell him I said nice things about him, Elliot warned with a grin. I have a reputation to maintain. They shared a laugh, and Zarya felt herself relaxing for the first time since they'd arrived at the party. Should we head back? Elliot suggested. Calder's probably ready to send out a search party. Probably, Zarya agreed with a smile. As they walked back toward the house, Elliot added casually, just so you know, Sophia will be leaving soon. I've arranged for her CR to have a flat tire, and the only available mechanic will need to tow it to his shop, which happens to be closed until Monday. Zarya looked at him in surprise. You didn't? I absolutely did, Elliot confirmed cheerfully. No one messes with the people Calder cares about, not on my watch. By the time they reached the deck, Calder was indeed looking anxious. His face relaxed visibly when he spotted them. Everything okay? He asked, his eyes moving between Zarya and Elliot. Perfect, Elliot assured him. I was just getting to know your girlfriend. She's far too good for you, by the way. I'm aware, Calder said, slipping an arm around Zarya's waist. Where's Sophia? Zarya asked, noticing the blonde was nowhere to be seen. She left, Calder said. Something about car trouble. Elliot winked at Zarya behind Calder's back. How unfortunate. The rest of the evening passed more pleasantly. Zarya found Dee herself genuinely enjoying Elliot's company, and even warming to some of Calder's other friends as they moved beyond their initial judgment. By the time they left, she was tired but happier than she'd expected to be. "That wasn't so bad, was it?" Calder asked as they drove back to the city. "It had its moments," Zarya admitted. "Elliot is great." "He likes you," Calder said. "He texted me while you two were on the beach. Said I'd better not screw this up. Or he'd disown me as a friend." Zarya laughed. "I can see why you've stayed friends all these years." "He's the brother I never had," Calder said fondly. "The only person besides my father who was there from the beginning of Secure Shield." "He believes in you," Zarya observed. "He does." Calder reached across the console to take her hand. "And so do you, which means even more." They drove in comfortable silence for a while before Calder spoke again. "I'm sorry about what Sophia said, about people talking." "It's okay," Zarya said, and was surprised to find she meant it. "I can handle a little gossip if it means being with you." Calder squeezed her hand. "I don't deserve you." "Probably not," she teased, "but you're stuck with me anyway." The next morning, Zarya was at the cafe, midway through her shift, when her phone buzzed with a text from Calder. "Check your email when you get a break." Curious, she waited until her break and opened her email app. There was a message from Calder with the subject line, "A proposition, not that kind." "Zarya, I've been thinking about what you said about earning your own way and respecting your independence. I admire that about you more than I can say. But I also think you're extraordinary, and extraordinary talent deserves the right opportunity to shine. Secure Shield is looking for a new graphic designer for our marketing department. The position comes with full benefits and tuition reimbursement for employees continuing their education. The job listing is attached. If you're interested, the portfolio you already have is more than enough to qualify you for an interview. And before you ask, no, I would not be your boss, would not be your..." The marketing department reports to our CMO, Diane Winters, who is brilliant and terrifying and would never hire someone just because they're dating the CEO. This is not charity or special treatment. This is me recognizing talent and connecting it to an opportunity. The choice is entirely yours. No pressure either way. Love always. Calder PS Diane doesn't know we're dating, and I won't tell her unless you decide to apply. This would be entirely on your own merit. Zarya stared at the email, reading it through 3 times. A real job in graphic design, benefits, tuition assistance. It was everything she'd been working toward, but would taking it mean giving up her independence? Would people think she got the job just because of her relationship with Calder? As if reading her mind, another text came through. "Stop overthinking it. You're talented. The job needs talent. It's that simple." Zarya smiled at her phone. She had been overthinking it. Maybe this was the universe offering her a chance, one she'd earned through years of hard work and sacrifice. "I'll think about it," she texted back. "That's all I ask," came Sealder's reply, followed by a heart emoji that made her smile even wider. For the first time since meeting Calder, Zarya allowed herself to imagine a future where their worlds weren't separated by an unbridgeable divide. A future where she could build her career while being with the man she loved. It was a beautiful thought. But as she put her phone away and returned to work, a nagging worry remained. Was it really possible to have it all? Or would something G have to give? The answer came sooner than she expected, and in a way she never could have anticipated. 2 days after receiving Calder's email about the graphic design position, Zarya decided to apply. She spent hours perfecting her portfolio and writing a cover letter that highlighted her skills without mentioning her connection to the CEO. This was something she wanted to earn on her own merit. "Are you sure you don't want me to put in a good word?" Sia Elder asked as they had dinner at her apartment that evening. "Positive," Zarya replied firmly. "If I get this job, I want it to be because I deserve it, not because I'm dating the boss." "You do deserve it," Calder insisted. "Your work is amazing." "Then let it speak for itself." She kissed him lightly. "But thank you for thinking of me for the position. It means a lot." A week later, Zarya received an email requesting an interview with Diane Winters, the chief marketing officer. Her excitement was tempered with nervousness. Diane had a reputation for being brilliant but demanding, exactly the kind of mentor Zarya needed, but also intimidating. The day of the interview, Zarya wore her best outfit, a simple navy blue dress and the only pair of heels she owned. She took the bus to Pinnacle Tower, entering through the main lobby instead of the service entrance for the first time. "Can I help you?" asked the receptionist, eyeing her with curiosity. "I have an interview with Diane Winters at 10, Zaria replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "Zaria Lane," the receptionist confirmed, checking her computer. "11th floor, suite 1120. Good luck, you'll need it with Diane." The elevator ride was familiar, yet strange. Zaria had cleaned this building for months, but never seen it during daylight hours, never walked its halls as anything other than the invisible woman who emptied trash cans and wiped down surfaces. Diane's office was sleek and modern, with awards and framed advertisements lining the walls. The woman herself was surprisingly young, maybe early 40s, with short silver hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to look right through Zaria. "So," Diane said after they'd exchanged pleasantries, "your portfolio is impressive. Where did you study design?" "I'm mostly self-taught," Zaria admitted. "I've been taking online courses when I can afford them." Diane tapped her pen against her desk. "And your current employment?" "I work at Morning Brew Cafe and do night cleaning at various locations, including this building." "This building?" Diane's eyebrows rose. "Which floors?" Zaria hesitated. "The 57th, among others." "I see." Something flickered across Diane's face. Recognition, perhaps. "And what makes you think you're qualified for this posit ion with no formal education and no professional design experience?" The question was blunt, but Zaria had prepared for it. Because design isn't just about degrees, it's about seeing what others don't, about communicating visually in ways that words can't. "I may not have formal training, but I have perspective. I see things differently because I've lived differently." For the first time, Diane smiled slightly. "Show me." For the next hour, Zaria walked DNA through her portfolio, explaining her creative process and design choices. By the end, Diane was asking thoughtful questions and taking notes. "One last question," Diane said as the interview wrapped up. "Why Secure Shield? There are plenty of design jobs out there." Zaria chose her words carefully. "Because I believe in what you're building here. Privacy and security matter, especially for people who are often overlooked in the tech world." Diane studied her for a long moment. "Thank you for coming in, Zaria. We'll be in touch." Zaria left feeling cautiously optimistic. She hadn't mentioned Calder once, and Diane hadn't asked. Maybe this could work after all. 3 days later, Zaria received another email from Secure Shield's HR department. She'd gotten the job. "I start in 2 weeks, she told Calder that night, unable to contain her excitement. "Diane wants me to finish my graphic design course first. They're even paying for it." "That's amazing," Calder said, picking her up and spinning her around in celebration. "I told you your work was good." "She didn't mention you at all," Zaria marveled. "I really got this on my own." "Of course you did," Calder said, pride evident in his voice. "Though I should warn you, Diane is a force of nature. She once made our head of sales cry during a presentation." "I can handle it," Zaria said confidently. "After dealing with entitled customers at the cafe, nothing scares me." Life was finally falling into place. Zaria gave notice at both her jobs, thrilled to be leaving the exhausting schedule of working days and nights just to make ends meet. She and Calder celebrated by spending a weekend at a small bed and breakfast in Santa Barbara, walking on the beach and making plans for the future. "Move in with me," Calder suggested as they watched the sunset from their balcony. "Your lease is up next month anyway, and my place is closer to the office." "Calder," Zaria hesitated. "I don't know if that's a good idea right now." "Why not? We practically live together already. You stay at my place half the week." "Because I'm about to start working for your company," she explained. "I need to establish myself there on my own terms, not as the CEO's girlfriend who lives with him." Calder looked disappointed but nodded. "I understand. Just promise you'll think about it." "I promise," she said, leaning in to kiss him. "Let me get through my first few months at Secure Shield, and then we'll talk about it again." He wrapped his arms around her. "I can be patient." "Since when?" she teased. "Since I met a woman worth waiting for." Zaria's first week at Secure Shield was a whirlwind of orientation sessions, training, and meeting her new colleagues. She was assigned to a team working on rebranding the company's consumer products, a challenge she eagerly embraced. True to his word, Calder kept his distance professionally. They had agreed not to advertise their relationship at work, though they didn't actively hide it either. Zaria wanted to be judged on her abilities, not her romantic connections. By her second week, she was settling into a routine. Her team respected her ideas, and Diane had already praised one of her logo concepts. The work was challenging and fulfilling in a way cleaning had never been. The only cloud on her horizon was Lisa Chen, a senior designer who seemed determined to find fault with everything Zaria did. "Where did you go to design school again?" Lisa asked one day as they worked together on a presentation. "I didn't," Zaria replied evenly. "I'm mostly self-taught." "Oh, right," Lisa said with a thin smile. "I forgot you came from maintenance." The way she said it made maintenance sound like something shameful. Zaria forced herself to remain professional, but the comment stung. Similar interactions continued over the next few weeks. Small digs about Zaria's background, pointed questions about how she'd landed the job, barely disguised insinuations that she wasn't qualified. "Just ignore her," advised Marco, another designer on the team who had become a friend. Lisa expected to get promoted to lead on this project. Booty Diane gave it to Thomas instead. She's taking it out on the newest person she can find. Zaria tried to follow his advice, focusing on her work and the satisfaction it brought her, and there was plenty to be satisfied about. Her designs were being selected more often than not, and Diane had personally requested her for a special project, rebranding the company's security app. Things with Calder were good too. They still spent most nights together, alternating between his penthouse and her apartment. He respected her boundaries at work, treating her with the same professional courtesy he showed all employees when they crossed paths in the building. But rumors began to circulate anyway. Zaria would enter a break room and conversations would suddenly stop. People would stare when she walked by in the hallway, whispering behind her back. "Did you see the page 6 article?" Marco asked one morning, sliding a prinny toot across her desk. The headline made her stomach drop. "Tech CEO is Cinderella story. From cleaning his office to cleaning up his image." The short article speculated about Calder's relationship with an unnamed employee who reportedly worked as his personal cleaning lady before being given a cushy job at his company. It quoted sources close to the couple, claiming it was all a publicity stunt to rehabilitate Calder's image after his broken engagement. "This is garbage," Zaria said, crumpling the paper. "None of it is true." "I know," Marco assured her. "But Lisa's been making sure everyone in the office sees it." "Of course she has," Zaria muttered. That evening she confronted Calder at his penthouse, showing him the article. "I'll sue them," he said immediately, anger flashing in his eyes. "This is defamation." "It's not about the article," Zaria said, pacing the living room. "It's about what's happening at work. People think I only got this job because of you. That's ridiculous. Diane hired you. I had nothing to do with it." "But no one believes that." Zaria ran a hand through her hair in frustration. "I hear the whispers. I see the looks. Even if it's not true, the perception is there." "What do you want me to do?" Calder asked, his voice softening. "Tell me, and I'll do it." Zaria sank onto the couch. "I don't know. I worked so hard to get here, to be taken seriously. And now it feels like it's all slipping away." Calder sat beside her, taking her hands in his. "You are the most talented, hard-working person I know. Anyone who can't see that isn't worth your time." "It's not that simple," she sighed. "I have to work with these people every day." "Then we'll figure it out together," he promised. "Whatever you need." Zaria leaned against him, drawing comfort from his steady presence. But as she drifted off to sleep that night, a nagging worry remained. What if her relationship with Calder was always going to overshadow her own accomplishments? What if she could never truly stand on her own as long as they were together? The answer came in an unexpected form 2 days later. Zaria was working late, finalizing designs for a presentation, when Diane appeared at her desk. "Still here?" the CMO asked, looking uncharacteristically approachable. "Just finishing up," Zaria explained. Diane nodded toward the empty office nearby. Let's talk. Zaria followed, her stomach knotting with anxiety. Was this about the article? Had someone complained about her? Once the door closed, Diane got straight to the point. You're dating Calder Ross. It wasn't a question. Zaria didn't bother denying it. Yes. How long? A few months, Zaria admitted. But I didn't get this job because of him. I applied on my own. Diane held up a hand. I know. I'm the one who hired you, remember? Your work speaks for itself. That's not why I'm concerned. Then why? Because there's an opportunity I want to offer you, but it comes with complications. Diane leaned back in her chair. Our London office needs someone to head up the rebranding of our European division. It's a 6-month assignment, with the potential to become permanent. I want to send you. Zaria blinked in surprise. Me? But I've only been here a few weeks. And in those weeks, you've demonstrated more talent and work ethic than designers who've been here for years, Diane said matter-of-factly. You have a fresh perspective we need. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it, Diane suggested, but understand the complications. This would mean moving to London, leaving Calder. Zaria's heart sank. Did he put you up to this? To get me out of the WA because of the rumors? Diane actually laughed. Calder doesn't put me up to anything. He might be the CEO, but I run my department my way. She sobered. This is a legitimate opportunity, Zaria. One that could launch your career in ways you can't imagine, but it's also a test. A test of whether you're willing to put your career first, of whether you can stand on your own. Diane's eyes were knowing. Of whether you're here for the work or for the E-Man. The words hit Zaria like a physical blow. I'm here for the work, she said firmly. Then prove it, Diane challenged. Take the London assignment. Show everyone, including yourself, that you don't need Calder Ross to succeed. Zaria left Diane's office in a daze, her mind racing. London, a promotion after less than a month, a chance to prove herself beyond any doubt. But Calder. She drove to his penthouse automatically, rehearsing what she would say. When she arrived, she found him in the kitchen cooking dinner. Perfect timing, he greeted her with a smile. I'm attempting that pasta recipe Elliot's chef taught me. No promises on how it turns out. Diane offered me a position in London, Zaria blurted out. Calder froze, wooden spoon in hand. London? Heading up the European rebranding. 6 months minimum, maybe longer. The words tumbled out. It's an amazing opportunity, Calder, the kind that he changes careers. He set the spoon down slowly. When would you leave? 2 weeks. 2 weeks, he repeated, his voice carefully neutral. And you're considering it? I have to, Zaria said, moving closer to him. Don't you see? This is my chance to prove I belong at Secure Shield, that I earned my place. You have nothing to prove, Calder insisted. Certainly not to me. Not to you, she agreed. To myself. To everyone else. So you'd leave. The H-ert in his eyes was unmistakable. Leave us. It's 6 months, Calder, not forever. 6 months minimum, he corrected. Maybe longer, that's what you said. We could make it work, Zaria suggested, though even she could hear the uncertainty in her voice. There's video calls, visits. Right. Calder turned back to the stove, his shoulders rigid. Long-distance relationships always work out so well. That's not fair. No? He faced her again, anger replacing hurt. What's not fair is giving someone hope for a future together and then running away at the first opportunity. I'm not running away, Zaria protested. I'm running towards something important to me. More important than us. The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Zaria couldn't answer, didn't know how to answer. That's what I thought, Calder said softly. Calder, please try to understand. I understand perfectly, he interrupted. You need to prove yourself. Fine, go to London, be amazing, I know you will be. What about us? Zaria asked, tears threatening. Calder's expression softened slightly. I don't know, Zaria. I really don't know. The pasta burned, forgotten on the stove as they argued late into the night. Calder felt betrayed. Zarya felt torn. Neither could see a clear path forward that didn't involve sacrifice. In the end, Zarya left his penthouse without resolution, both of them too emotionally exhausted to continue. The next morning, she texted him, "I need some time to think." His reply was simple, "Take all the time you need." For the next week, they didn't see each other outside of work, where they maintained a polite but distant professional relationship. Zarya threw herself into preparing for London, arranging for her apartment to be sublet, getting her passport in order, trying not to think about what she was leaving behind. Diane gave her a deadline. Friday. Accept or decline the London position. Thursday night found Zarya in her apartment, surrounded by half-packed boxes, staring at her phone. No messages from Calder, no calls, just silence. "What would you do, Mom?" she whispered to the framed photo on her desk. "How do I choose?" As if in answer, her phone buzzed with a text, not from Calder but from Elliot. "Coffee tomorrow morning?" 8 a.m. at groundwork on Rose Ave. Important. Curious despite her emotional exhaustion, Zarya agreed. The next morning, she found Elliot waiting at an outdoor table, 2 cups of coffee already in front of him. "Thanks for coming," he said as she sat down. "I ordered you a latte. Hope that's okay." "It's fine," Zarya said, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. "What's so important?" "Calder's a mess," Elliot stated bluntly. "I've never seen him like this. Not even W. Hen Sophia left." Zarya winced. "I didn't mean to hurt him." "I know." Elliot's expression was sympathetic. "And for what it's worth, I think the London opportunity sounds amazing. You should take it." "You do?" Zarya was surprised. "Absolutely. It's a game changer." Elliot leaned forward. "But here's what you need to understand about Calder. He has abandonment issues the size of Mount Everest. Because of his mother and his father, who was physically present but emotionally absent," Elliot explained. "And Sophia, who betrayed him in the worst way. Everyone who was supposed to love him has either left or failed him." "So now I'm doing the same thing," Zarya said sadly. "No," Elliot corrected. "You're pursuing your dreams. There's a difference. But Calder can't see that difference right now because he's terrified of losing you." "What should I do?" "Talk to him," Elliot advised. "Really talk. Not about London or jobs or long distance, about what you both want for the future." "And if our futures don't align?" Elliot shrugged. "Then at least you'll know. Better than wondering what if for the rest of your life." Zarya nodded slowly. "Thank you, Elliot." "Don't thank me yet," he replied with a wry smile. "Calder can be stubborn as hell when he's hurt. But he loves you, Zarya, more than I've ever seen him love anyone." "I love him too," she whispered. "That's what makes this so hard." After coffee with Elliot, Zarya went straight to Diane's office. The CMO looked up, expectantly as she entered. "I've made my decision," Zarya announced. That evening, Zarya rode the elevator to the 57th floor of Pinnacle Tower. It was after hours, and the floor was mostly dark, except for the light in the corner office, just like the first night they'd met. Calder was at his desk, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, looking exhausted. He glanced up as she entered, surprise flickering across his face. "Zarya," he said, standing. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I needed to talk to you," she replied, "and this seemed like the right place." "Why?" "Because this is where it all began," she said simply. "Where you told me you lived here now. Where I said maybe someone should clean up the mess." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "I remember." "I made my decision about London," Zarya said, her heart pounding. Calder's expression shuttered. "And?" "I'm going." He nodded stiffly, looking away. "Congratulations, it's a great opportunity. But that's not all I decided," Zarya continued, moving closer to his desk. "I also decided that I do not want to choose between my career and the man I love. I want both." Calder looked up, confusion in his eyes. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I'm going to London for 6 months. I'm going to work harder than I've ever worked and prove to everyone, including myself, that I deserve to be there. She took a deep breath. And then I'm coming back to you, if you'll still have me. Zaria, let me finish, she insisted. You were right. I was running away, at least partly, because it was easier than facing the rumors and the whispers, because I was scared of being seen as nothing more than Calder Ross's girlfriend. You've never been just that, Calder protested. I know, but I needed to prove it, to myself most of all. She reached across the desk, offering her hand. So I'm asking you to wait for me. 6 months. Give me that time to become the person I need to be, so I can come back and be the partner you deserve. Calder took her hand, his expression softening. I don't need you to prove anything to be the partner I deserve. I love you exactly as you are. And I love you, Zaria said, tears filling her eyes. Enough to ask you to understand why this matters to me. Calder was silent for a long moment, still holding her hand. Finally, he spoke. 6 months is a long time. It is, she agreed. I'd miss you every day. I'd miss you too. He stood, moving around the desk to face her properly. What about after, when you come back? That depends, Zaria said cautiously. What do you want after? Everything, Calder said simply. A life together. A future. Maybe even a family someday. Is that a proposal? She asked, half joking. Not yet, he replied seriously. But a promise that when you come back from London, I'll be here waiting with a real proposal, if that's what you want too. Zaria's heart felt too full for her chest. That's what I want too. Calder pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. 6 months, he murmured against her hair. And then forever. Deal, she whispered back. They sealed the promise with a kiss, standing in the office where their unlikely story had begun. 6 months. Later, the 57th floor of Pinnacle Tower was spotless and empty. Calder had been true to his word, visiting Zaria in London twice and talking with her every day by video call. She had thrived in her new role, earning the respect of the European team and creating a rebranding campaign that was being praised throughout the industry. Now she was back in Los Angeles, having completed her assignment with distinction. Diane had offered her a permanent position as creative director for the company's international divisions, a role she could perform from the LA headquarters. But tonight, as she rode the elevator to the 57th floor, work was the last thing on her mind. Calder had asked her to meet him there, saying only that he had a surprise. When the doors opened, she was greeted by soft lighting and a trail of rose petals leading toward the corner office. Her heart pounded as she followed them, memories of their meeting flooding back. The office looked different now. The desk and chairs had been removed, replaced by hundreds of candles and flowers, and in the center stood Calder, looking more nervous than she'd ever seen him. "Welcome home," he said softly as she entered. "What is all this?" Zaria asked, though she had a suspicion. "This is where we began," Calder replied, taking her hands in his. "Where you saw me at my worst and didn't run away. Where you cleaned up my mess, literally and figuratively." Zaria laughed, tears already threatening. "Your mess wasn't so bad." "It was terrible," he corrected with a smile. "But you made it better. You make everything better, Zaria Lane." Slowly, he lowered himself to one knee, still holding her hands. "These past 6 months have been the longest of my life, but they've also shown me that what we have is strong enough to survive anything. Distance, time, gossip columns." Zaria laughed through her tears as he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "I don't want to spend another day apart," Calder continued, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "Zaria Lane, will you marry me?" "Yes," she whispered without hesitation. "Yes, I will." As he slipped the ring onto her finger and rose to kiss her, Zaria knew she had found what her mother had always hoped for her. Not a fairy tale prince or a liffey of luxury, but a partner who saw her clearly and loved her completely. Later that night, as they walked hand in hand toward the elevator, Zarya noticed something on her old cleaning cart, which had been parked discreetly in the hallway. A note was taped to the handle. In Calder's handwriting, "There's dust collecting again on the 57th floor. Any chance you could come clean up the mess I left behind?" She turned the card over, smiling at the memory. But to his time instead of a key, she found another note. "P.S. The only mess left is my heart without you in it. Thank you for coming back to clean it up. I promise to spend the rest of my life making sure yours stays spotless." "Smooth," Zarya teased, turning to face him. "Too much?" Calder asked with a grin. "Just right," she assured him, rising on tiptoes to kiss him. "Just right." And as the elevator doors closed on the 57th floor, Zarya knew she had found her place, not as the cleaning lady or the CEO's wife, but as a woman who had earned every bit of happiness that came her way. The end.